little preview.
Yeah. Also, the big news of the week, Chris Sale back on the DL. I was really surprised. I was probably more surprised this time than I was the first time he went on.
Told you it was going to happen again.
Yeah, see, I'm the opposite with that. I think I was very shocked the first time because I legitimately thought there was something wrong, because it didn't seem like that would have been the time to rest him. It would have been like against the White Sox coming up, against Miami, against Baltimore in the second to last season series there. But he came back after that right on time and pitched one of his best games of the year, which, if he wasn't on a pitch count there, he would have went probably complete game or close to it. And I think it's the same thing here. I think it's a phantom injury. I think it's just strictly for rest, and they're just getting another body up.
It honestly sounds like that they're gearing up for the September run, basically. You know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, the amount of innings he's at is the lowest in his career, I believe, at this point. And September, for most teams, is going to become a playoff atmosphere. So wouldn't you want Chris Sale rested against the Indians so we can see at least what we have? And then, you get to see Sale against the Yankees. And then you probably get to see Sale against the Astros. So it's going to be exciting for sure, and he's going to be well rested.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pumped. I mean, I'm happy that he's getting the rest. It's what he needed his entire career, and he's finally getting it. And Price got the rest earlier this year when it was built in, kind of with his carpal tunnel and injuries and stuff like that. He's not top of the innings pitch. The only guy that hasn't gotten a break yet is Porcello, and I think
he doesn't need it. At some
point, I don't think he needs it. He will get it though, whether it comes in against Baltimore. If we don't need that, if we're up 9.5 with 6 games to go, he will get a rest for sure. So. But the fact that Price, isn't going to be at his max innings because he missed a couple starts because of injury earlier this year. Sale's missing a couple starts now. I mean, it looks really good for, the rest for these guys that need it. And it's a very smart move by the Red Sox.
At this point, I'm just waiting for one of the injury reports to just have the shrugging emoji when asked for a reason. Just like have the guy shrugging, like we don't know, we don't want to lie this time.
Yeah. Well, see, someone that I think might be a little banged up though is I think Devers might be a little banged up, but that also
he looked awful when he came back.
That also could be a phantom thing where they just want to get his head straight. So I think it's a little bit of both there, but I think Sale's 100% fine.
Well, we'll get into Devers in a second, but when I watched Sale's start his last one when he came off the DL the first time, his delivery looked violent at times, and he was amped up, and he struck out 12 in only 5 innings, and I'm like, he looked good. He looked like a pitcher who was fully confident in both his arm and shoulder to go out there and give a performance like that. And then all season long, all Alex Cora has done, which has driven me nuts, has preached rest. And definitely throughout the lineup, definitely in spots that I thought were pointless given the fact there were certain off days, and nobody else in the rotation is really getting rest. I think the rest that David Price had earlier in the season, that's a long time ago at this point. He's racked up a lot of innings since then, and maybe it might not be where his normal innings count would be, towards the end of August, but Rick Porcello as well, and he kind of fell off a little bit towards the end of 2016, I felt like. His last 2 regular season starts, and then his one start against the Indians where he gave up 3 consecutive solo home runs. So that leads me to believe that there is a little bit of concern for Sale here, because why hasn't, with all this depth that we have, why haven't they at least have skip starts, for the other guys, versus putting them on the DL, and none of that's happening. So, and some of the beat writers, Rob Bradford, Pete Abraham specifically, seem to express some concern over the fact that he's already back on the DL. And Austin, you say, well, it's going to happen again. And I kind of agreed. I just didn't think it would be this fast. I thought, towards the end of September, kind of like David, when you were talking about the Yankee series, why start guys here when, we're about to go on a deep playoff run. So I'm a little bit concerned, and if this is a guy that we're going to drop however many million on, I mean,
200.
Possibly, yeah. It's a little concerning that this might have to be a regular part of his season, because we're not going to have the luxury of winning well over 100 games in the future. So, hopefully it works out. But I want to see these other guys get some rest too, and because I'm a much bigger proponent of doing it with the rotation than I am the lineup. So,
well, here's the thing. Like, we put him on the DL. Okay, he has that excellent start against the O's. The starts that he would have gotten within this 10-day span, both against the Rays. So it's not like he's missing any huge starts. He's not missing a game against Cleveland. He's not missing a game against Houston. These are games that he can afford to take off.
Yeah, and that's exactly why they're doing it now. And as for you talking about, and the beat writers talking about Sale, but as you were just mentioning that, other guys aren't getting it, Porcello is the only one that hasn't gotten it. Price, even though he had it off earlier in this year, he had it off. The innings, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you get them. If you get the 250 innings, you get 250 innings. So in the grand scheme of things, at the end of the season, as long as you get the rest, you get the rest. And Price has gotten it. Sale's gotten it. Erod got it because of injury, but not to his arm. So that's fine. Right, and then who else is one of your starters? I mean,
the other guys are the spot starts, basically.
Exactly. So, and as for not having the luxury in the future with Sale, and obviously he's going to be a future of this team. I think he's going to be on this team for the rest of his career, or at least the prime of it. If he goes somewhere at 35, 36 years old, so be it. But, if we're up 3 games against the Yankees in the middle of August next year, or 1 game, and we're playing the Rays, or playing Miami, or playing the White Sox, or playing Kansas City, if the Red Sox can't rattle off a win with Brian Johnson or Velasquez or Eovaldi on the mound there in case of Sale, then they don't deserve to win anyway, because Sale probably would have given them the same thing. So as long as you do it, like Austin just said, against teams that are bad and that should be quote-unquote scheduled wins, or at least scheduled quality starts, right? Because you can't control the bats like today, because we had great pitching all day, I'm okay with it. And I think it's a perfect time for now, because it gears him up to pitch 2-3 long, hopefully, starts in a row. And then he'll rest again against, the end of the year against the Yankees and Baltimore, most likely. So I love the rest. I think it's great with the position players as well. The last 2 seasons in a row, our top half of the lineup has been hurt. Mookie's been banged up. Bogart's been banged up. Pedroia's been banged up. So everybody's been hurt. So the fact that everyone's getting rest, even on days with back-to-back days off, it's fine with me. It's working.
Well, and with a guy like Chris Sale, like as competitive as he is, I mean, the guy would pitch if his arm was hanging off. So if you want to give him a couple days rest, you almost have to put him on the DL, because he's going to squirm his way into a game.
A couple things, though. Price, I mean, that wasn't a huge rest. He was supposed to pitch on a Wednesday, was flown out that day, had tests done on Thursday, was pitching 2 days later on Saturday. So it was only kind of a start that got skipped, and it wasn't really, the rotation didn't even do a full turn after that, and he was already pitching against Toronto on Saturday. The other thing with Chris Sale here is, I mean, we can say that he was lined up to face Tampa twice, but it didn't necessarily have to be that way, because he pitched last Sunday. He would have pitched again today. They very easily could have put him in with the Indians, and I want to see Chris Sale pitch against the Indians, because we might have to face them in the ALCS right before the World Series. And like I said in the last podcast, I want to know that my ace can make those adjustments and beat those teams that have given him trouble in the past. And so I was already disappointed that he wasn't even scheduled to face them to begin with. And it's even more disappointing to me if this really is a phantom injury, where they could have started him there and then DL'd him right after. I know we got the Rays next. I don't know who's after the Rays, but
I think the White Sox, right?
Probably the White Sox.
I think we have a 2-game set with the Marlins and then a 4-game set with the White Sox.
Yeah, so there's no need for him to even face those teams, because those are bad teams. But we could have got a nice look here at a good team. And if this is a phantom injury, it's frustrating to me that the Red Sox didn't take that opportunity to see what he could do against them should we face them. And we only have a 3-game set against them next month, so who knows how the rotation is going to line up at that point. But I'm not fully on board that it is necessarily a phantom injury, like I was saying at the very outset. So
the only reason I think it's a phantom injury is because he came back so dominant in his last start. If he came back and struggled or just didn't look Sale-like, then I would be more concerned. And if he comes back from this one and sucks, then maybe it's a different story. But based on Cora's mentality, based on Sale's career struggles in August and September, and based on how amazing he looked when he came back, that's why I'm not worried yet. If they give me a reason to worry, I'm going to worry. But for now, I have no reason to worry about Chris Sale at any point.
Well, time will tell. I mean, they don't really have an estimate yet on when he'll be back, do they?
No, it's just 10-day. I'm sure. I don't think it'll go longer than that. And if it does, it would be, like Austin said, if it's in the Tampa series and he's supposed to go in Game 3 of it, and we already won the first 2, and at that point, why even play him? We already won the series, and no reason why Brian Johnson or Velasquez can't do what they did the last couple of days, give up 2 or 3 or no runs, and just beat up on a team that isn't very good. They're competitive, but they're not very good.
Yeah, today would be day 7 of that. So he could. We know the pitching matchup, so he's not going to be back on Wednesday. But that would have been the earliest they could have. Let's also.
You never know. They could always scratch Brian Johnson at the end. At the end of the day, they could always scratch Johnson and put Sale in.
Well, true. I don't know if they will. I'd love it if they did for the reasons I just pointed out. I really want to see him start against them, but you had something to say, Austin, before I moved on?
No, I really need to tape my mute button because it's becoming an issue.
Oh, okay. All right. Rafael Devers, the other one, added to the DL. Not like a huge shock, but
I'm kind of concerned about it.
Well,
he didn't look good.
He didn't look good. Back. No, but here's the thing. I mean, they're saying it's a hamstring, and I don't know. I believe this is definitely a phantom injury. He
basically get your shit together injury.
Possibly. I mean, a hamstring. There's no doubt when a player's has a problem there because they get yanked from the game immediately, and I don't know. I mean, that was definitely the case the first time around, but they needed to get him out of there, and we definitely have the depth to go without him for a little while for him to get his stuff together. And the thing I hear that drives me absolutely insane is people when they say, oh, they can't send him down to Pawtucket because they don't want to hurt his confidence. Well, he's playing in Boston. So if he can't handle that, he can't handle playing in Boston, in my opinion. Because you got to be a little hard-headed. I mean, Will Middlebrooks couldn't do it. And, Carl Crawford.
He was forced out because he was fucking Jenny Dell. So that's the only reason.
Yeah, he got a wife out of it, though.
He handled Boston fine and was playing fine. He had a bright prospect future, but as you've seen with NESN stars that get involved with fraternizing with players or managers, they get shipped out immediately, and the player usually follows.
Yeah, well, Guerin Austin's old enough to be half of these players' mothers, so maybe that's why she's on the sidelines. And I noticed that girl that got hired in the offseason never comes out of the studio, so maybe they're mindful of it. But I just
like keep her away like a Romeo and Juliet thing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
well, yeah, just no temptation.
Lock her in the tower.
I was just thinking today, that Red Sox prospect series that they're doing on on Nesson, where the first one was Westmoreland, and he had the unfortunate brain injury or whatever, and then they got another one coming up. I'm not that familiar with him, but once I saw the preview for the second show, I was like, oh, they got to do a Middlebrooks